Hello, everyone. Good morning, and welcome to this week's episode of VENDO Velocity. We're live every other Tuesday with marketplace updates and thought leadership. And today, we're super happy to have Becky from the retail data team at the trade desk joining us this morning. My name's Matan. I lead up the programmatic advertising here at VENDO. With me is Chase, who's a Walmart programmatic specialist. And then we also have Becky from the trade desk.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Becky Gesswein here from the trade desk. I lead retail data partnerships. I really do focus on the Walmart partnership, but I'm excited to talk to you guys today about just retail in general. I am Minneapolis based. I came from formerly Target, so have been in the space for quite some time, and so I'm excited to chat with you guys today and see what you have to ask.
Yeah, definitely. There have been so many moving pieces in the retail media and the retail data world across all advertising companies, agencies, softwares, brands, you name it. Everyone's kind of been investing more of their time and more of their energy into these retail media partnerships, both from the brand and retailer side. So it's been really awesome to see that over the past few years. In short, do you want to give a quick summary of what the trade desk is doing right now in terms of retail media connections?
Yeah, for sure. I think, you guys know we have a lot of our some of the biggest names in retail data in our marketplace. And so, first and foremost, that was really important for us to have some of the biggest data players out there, and be attractive for our advertisers. But there is a lot of potential with niche retailers too. And so I can't give you like minute details of who we're talking to, but we are having conversations with retailers across different verticals. And so, I think of myself, I have 4 dogs at home. And so like pet is a huge category that we are missing, and kind of some of those more niche travel, beauty, some of those other specialty stores, the ones just beyond the big box retailers. And so as we think about broadening those partnerships, we're just going to be able to offer our clients a really more targeted approach to their media buying. Plus, these more niche retailers really offer unique audiences that our current partners really either don't offer or just simply can't reach.
Yeah. I mean, you guys have some super strong connections right now. Obviously, like we talked about, the Walmart connection that you guys have is extremely strong. I know you guys have partnerships with Roundel and Target, Albertsons, Bevmo, GoPuff, Dollar General. I mean, the list goes on. You guys have been really expanding that over the past few years, so that's been super, super exciting to see. One question I have is, what determines the level of data that each retailer gives up to you guys?
Yeah, sure. Honestly, we give guidance, but it's really up to the retailer to decide how they categorize their data, and they know their data best. They know their customer the best, and so the types of audiences they provide, and maybe sometimes how even their data scientist team can look at the data and provide insights, is kind of what that comes down to. But we do give retailers some guidance on what we see adopted most often, and really encourages the most flexibility as possible. The great thing about retail data is that there is kind of this long-term information on their customers, this longitudinal data that they have for customers. So, think about your own life from like college till now. Your buying habits have probably changed a lot. I know mine have. And so retailers are tracking these transactions. In college, I was buying, I can't even tell you what I was buying for food, but, now it's a lot more healthy, and definitely has changed, in my own lifestyle. But that ultimately helps those retailers create segments for advertisers to match their needs. So, today I buy a lot of food, beverages, and seasonal decor. So, like, that probably suggests to a retailer that I either host a lot of family or friends gatherings. But kind of back to what I said earlier, these segments don't just appear out of thin air. It takes really some sort of analyst or data scientist, clearly not me, to review what those shopping behaviors are and kind of see the change over time. And so, just segments beyond just an item, a brand, or category purchase, that takes time to see those patterns, derive insights and things like that from all of those purchase behaviors. And honestly, that does take significant bandwidth on the retailer's side. So creating those segments is something that kind of takes time and evolves, and maybe takes a little bit of creativity for the retailer to understand. But I also think not all segments need to be created by the retailer either. So retailers are starting to allow for custom segment creation. And I think that's really been game changing for advertisers who are looking to advance their targeting strategies. So maybe they want to target past purchasers of their brand, but not past purchasers of, a category or something like that. So I think the possibilities become endless when you do allow for custom segmentation.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, on Walmart DSP, we've just seen such extensive data in terms of look back windows, being able to look back 4 or 5 years, because they have so much data that we can tap into. And yeah, I thought it was funny you mentioned the college shopping habits versus now, and how these retailers are able to kind of differentiate and evolve you as a consumer over time. Yeah, definitely. In college, we were all shopping for top ramen. And
I was going to use vodka as the example, but
now everyone's on to, I don't know, functional seltzers, like
yeah,
and who knows what. But that's really cool. Yeah, I mean, every retailer we've noticed has a unique partnership with the trade desk in terms of how that data looks, what data they have available, what data they're going to have available. So it's been interesting navigating that landscape as an agency, and just trying to understand what we can get from each retailer, and then also communicating that to our brands.
For sure. And I would assume, and maybe that's a question for you, when there isn't, copy paste of every single segment across retailers, that becomes a little bit challenging for you all as you measure and understand the effectiveness of the media, across different retailers. So if you're looking at chips buyers on Walmart versus whatever other retailer, it might become challenging if, chips also includes pretzels or, something like that.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, and I mean, some of the early stage retail advertisers or retail media networks, they kind of like they can make it difficult in the sense where inventory and data and audiences are coupled a lot of the times. And I know we're going to get to this a little bit more later, but that's kind of one of the interesting aspects, I think, of retailer data that we don't see oftentimes elsewhere.
Yeah. As I think about retailers and their comfort level with advertising on the open internet, some retailers have more brand protections in place, and certainly they do that for a reason. As if they require co-branding as an example, maybe their brand, the retailer brand, doesn't want to show up next to something that CPG brand is okay showing up next to. So, that's where some of those, I think you mentioned it, like the PMPs come into place. And so a retailer then will couple their inventory with, or select inventory with the data and measurement. Again, that just protects the retailer a little bit more. But what it does for the advertiser, it gives them less visibility and transparency into their buys, being able to optimize. So I think there's winners either way, but definitely different ways of doing things, and also just from a advertiser standpoint, just understanding really what works for you and your brand. If a PMP does suit your way of working, fine. If you're more in the open internet and want a little bit more control, there's definitely options there as well.
Yeah, that's good. I think you also just spoke to the importance of explain what retail media is, why it's important. What type of brands do you think are the best fit to start with retail media?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of goes without saying. I think it's obvious. The CPG brands, those that are sold at the retailer. I think that those are the most obvious ones that, the retailer is, by way and extension of their own first party data. And in some cases, they'll only access to sales data that these advertisers have. So I think that one is the most obvious. They have a strong presence in retail space, and in most cases, that retailer is sharing data with that brand, and they have a clear understanding of who their target audience is. So, it is a no-brainer for CPGs to use that retail data, and that includes food and bev, household cleaning supplies or household items, health and beauty. They will find immediate value in retail data. And I mean, adding fashion and apparel and electronics and tech brands are certainly, those are some items that maybe have some seasonality to them. And so maybe they're not bought as frequently, or maybe they're bought super frequently, and then you can't adjust to sell cycles. But certainly there's patterns that data can inform decision-making, reaching the right customers. Ultimately, obviously the goal here is to drive sales. But I think maybe not necessarily more interesting, but just interesting but less obvious are the brands that don't sell products at retail stores, but can draw some parallels to that retail data. So with a retailer's ability to see those longitudinal behaviors, that data is just as valuable to the non-endemic brands in our world. So as an example, a retailer knows maybe via your purchases when you might be starting a family. So that data could be super valuable to maybe an insurance provider or an auto dealer. And so, at that time in your life, you might want to increase your insurance policy or update your two-door car to a four-door car. And maybe as your family gets older, your activities might also change. You might find yourself on the go more often. Maybe you're going to sporting events or whatever that means. But that means maybe these restaurants might have take an interest in you, like a busy family segment. And that's where that retail data just be like, I go back to kind of the beginning of our conversation. That's where those segments and the data scientists behind this, creating those segments, can become super valuable to these retail partners, as well as to the advertisers.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've never thought too much about how non-CPG brands could use that data. But I mean, just in this conversation, I'm thinking of if someone buys a neck pillow, for example, airlines could use that data to target that person as a traveler or something along the lines. So it's really cool to see how that data translates outside of the CPG space as well, but definitely understanding that it's probably best for CPG brands.
Yeah.
Awesome. What would you say are some best practices for retail media advertising campaigns versus those that drive to direct-to-consumer sites?
Yeah. So for direct-to-consumer, I always think of experience as kind of that piece that's connecting the consumer to their end checkout. So, as we think about driving lower in the funnel, driving to purchase, ensuring the audience that you're targeting, maybe you're retargeting from an upper funnel, like CTV campaign or something, but ensuring that all of those campaigns are connected and cohesive in nature. So whether that's to your D2C site or to a retailer site, you want to make sure that that brand is connected to the item or whatever that looks like. I think most important though is measurement of all of these things. So if you're driving to a D2C site, certainly there's ways that you can get your own measurement. But if you're maybe that's not the the place where you're getting the majority of your sales. And typically a click, especially as we talk about CPG brands, clicks on media aren't necessarily a driving factor in sales. And so if maybe they are clicking, but that's a small percentage of the actual actions, but more so people are going in stores, or maybe they're shopping around a little bit and then coming back to the site. So measurement ultimately will help you understand truly where the sales are happening. And so maybe you want to consider where the volume of your sales are happening, and also consider where you should measure with retail. So if you're driving to your D2C site, but really the volume of your sales are happening at a Target, or maybe you would say, let's turn on measurement for Target as an example, at the same time as any measurement that you're doing on your D2C. And then I guess with anything, like any campaign, you should really just ensure you have a thoughtful strategy, which I hope that's always the plan. But what is the test plan that goes along with it to ensure that, you're constantly learning? And if driving to that D2C site isn't working, then how do we shift in real time and optimize that to something that is working?
Yeah, you mentioned, you mentioned this earlier, just how much, even in the last year, how much it's changed and how much different audience data is and data in general. What about going forward? What do you think the landscape looks like 5 to 10 years from now?
Yeah, I mean, I think
you can see into the future.
Yeah, I even think back to like 2 years ago, and we never could have predicted the pandemic. And so I think that's really how retail media kind of started to all rise. And that's where kind of this all started, and it all kind of blew up. It was literally at the time advertising on a retailer website, and it was just limited to that. There's so many more opportunities here, after the pandemic. And so as we think of really the future, there's already happening so much, but so much of this is the omni-channel shopping. I think of my own behaviors. I'm looking at my phone while I'm probably watching something on Netflix or Amazon Prime. And, so those lines between online shopping and offline shopping are really blurring. And so, I think being able to seamlessly switch between shopping on your phone or on your computer or in store with a consistent experience across all channels is going to be really important, to be able to connect what I'm seeing on my phone to the TV to what's happening in the store. So even thinking about that in ways of technology integration, from virtual reality fitting rooms, I feel like a few retailers have tried that in the past and not been super successful because it just was maybe before its time. But how do you get AI powered customer service, or even just I think of all of the filters that we have in our social media apps. How do we bring that into the store? So if you're trying on a bathing suit, and we just talked about this, but I'm from Minnesota, so my skin is extremely white right now because there is no sun and it's too cold. But it's also the season where I'm trying to get my boat out in the water, and putting on a swimsuit in a fitting room does not sound appealing. But how do we use, a mirror to maybe make me look tan, or even just a fun effect where you could put sunscreen on your nose and it could be sponsored by Neutrogena or something like that. So just innovative ways to shop and interact with these brands. And you can also bring, monetization into that. And so, as you're experiencing that, maybe in a filter or something on your phone, you're also seeing that same experience in the store. So so I think that, kind of leads me to that experiential retailer. So, when you go into the store, you're doing more than you're just shopping. Interactive experiences, making shopping really fun and engaging, not necessarily gamification, but more about being an informed shopper. And so when I'm shopping and I'm trying to find something, I might look it up online to understand what the reviews are or what people are saying about it, or, if there's something else that might be more appealing. I think it's just human nature to be curious, and the more tools that we have at our disposal, the more consumers are going to use those. So, I think when it comes to advertisers, we shouldn't just stick to the obvious choices. There's so many other industries that can benefit from using retail data. So, just like, how do we expand into kind of all the possibilities and start to incorporate experiences? And, we talked a little bit about the non-endemics and, how do you bring United Airlines or something like that into a Target store?
Yeah, those experiences, I mean, I think they're awesome for advertisers because you're not just getting people to engage more while they're in the store. Oftentimes people are more willing to like post it to their socials.
Right.
And so it's just, you're not only getting the customer, you're getting increased awareness too, because people are posting it on social media. And then hopefully you get that whole like virality aspect. I mean, this is not necessarily related to retailers, but I know that Severance did something in, I think it was like Grand Central Station in New York recently, the TV show, where they basically did like a whole interactive like skit in New York. And while of course the people in the subway and the people there at the time were seeing it, what made it truly famous was how viral it went, everyone putting it on their stories. So I think we're going to see a lot more of that. To your point, interactive ads across the board have become more and more popular. So whether that's on TV, being able to actually click on the commercials through these streaming apps, that's super common now, or whether that's going to be in store at like installations and other activations like that.
Yeah. I even think about QR codes. Those, like, before the pandemic, it was like those had died, and during the pandemic they came back, and now it's almost like you see QR codes everywhere, and I don't even know what I'm clicking on, and sometimes I'm like opening it and I'm just out of curiosity too, and it is just like another source of information and ways to learn more about products, services, whatever it is. So it's funny how
you even see that at restaurants now. All their menus are QR codes.
Yeah. Bring me to the drink menu for sure.
Yeah, the happy hour QR is my favorite QR. Cool, awesome. Well, Becky, we appreciate you taking the time out of your day and joining us on the VENDO Velocity podcast. It was super awesome having you and talking about the whole retail media landscape. We're super excited to be working with you guys at the trade desk on these retail media partnerships and spearheading activations that haven't really been widely taken on yet. So we're super excited to be working with you guys and to continue to expand into the retail media world. So thank you so much for hopping on.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me. Thanks for your partnership, and looking forward to more.
Of course. And to those listening, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you again soon.